I'd like to welcome you all to the first episode of the Founder Log, or podcast number 1. Today is November 21st. I'm your host, Calvin Wineland, creator and founder of the American Jerky Company, American Butcher's Jerky, or just Jerky. The name is still being modified. Today, I'm just going to kind of give you an overview as to who I am, what this podcast is all about, this Founder Notes, and what you guys can expect from me today. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Calvin Wineland. I'm 22 years old. I graduated from Syracuse University, upstate New York, currently living in Dallas, Texas for about another month until I move to Alabama, where I will be stationed at Fort Rucker, Alabama, flying for the United States Army. I am currently in Dallas, Texas, working for my folks. They are the original said owners of the American Butchers LLC, which is a butcher shop processing retailer restaurant enterprise that is based in Nebraska, where the butchering process is done, and then it is transported to Dallas here in Texas, located at the Dallas Farmers Market, where we have a retail operation selling direct to the consumer, as well as a restaurant side of house called Beyond the Butcher, where we do everything from burgers, steaks, briskets, Philly cheesesteaks, the whole 9 yards. So the main podcast for today is all about the creator Founder Notes, myself. This podcast is more going to be like an introduction to those of you who are ever wanting to get into the jerky business or into a business in a nutshell, primarily focused on an e-commerce business, as I will be selling said product online mostly, looking to get into retail and wholesale eventually. But this is more of an outlet for myself to talk about things that I am trying to create along the process, hiccups that I have, as well as the mental thought process for myself. I'm covering everything from testing to jerky to basically start to finish on the entire operation to our product. Now, just to give an outline as today's podcast. So this is my first podcast, so I'm not going to get too deep into the nitty gritty. Just kind of want to give you an overview as to what you can expect on this first episode. I think I'm going to mostly do these by week. So every week I'm either going to choose a subject that I'm going to be talking about, or I am going to be specifically talking about what information or which progression I have made towards the company. And that is what I will cover in this week, or in each week of this segment. So today on episode 1, let's just talk a little bit about the podcast itself, what our mission is as the Jerky Enterprise, as what our goal is and what our objectives are. So first off, since this is my first podcast, I really have no experience with this. I'm not using any fancy software. I am just using voice memos on my iPhone. I'm actually talking outside of my gym here in Dallas, Texas, and I am just having this idea that I want to talk to the direct audience and hopefully talk about something. These podcasts not necessarily going to go long, probably keep it under 10 minutes, hopefully, and just kind of go from there. So let's start off with the mission, or what our goal is. So overview is American Butchers LLC. This is the entire enterprise that is our start to finish operation. My folks currently have a retail jerky, but my objective is really to promote that jerky into a new enterprise, completely revamp our current system that we use for jerky, talking about the ingredients we use to make our jerky, talking about everything that is the production side of house on the jerky itself. The jerky business that we currently have is just out of the one window. I'm looking to basically take that and wholesale it and sell it directly to the consumer. Now, what is the objective? What makes our jerky any different than any other jerky? Well, the main objective that we're going to try and do is primarily for troops. So given that I am going to be commissioned, so I've already commissioned as a second lieutenant into the Army, my whole purpose of this business is to basically be able to transport jerky to guys overseas, ladies and gentlemen serving in the military, and give them an opportunity to have cheap, effective snacks. Jerky is an excellent source of protein, and it's an excellent commodity because jerky's shelf life is so long. Requirement is 3 months. It can take it past a year. Once you open the bag, it's good for still another week. Now that's awesome, because in the field, that is a big benefit, because jerky's not going to go bad if it's in your rucksack or you're rucking it around and you have that high source of protein, and it's going to last a really long time. So that is primarily what I'm going to try and do. My whole objective is to be able to take our current jerky, mark it up, fix it, try and rebrand it, and hopefully turn it into something that is not just going to be the one window we're currently selling out of, but I am basically taking it from my mom and pop shop and trying to make a name out of it. Some of the names, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, are the American Jerky Company, Jerky itself, Jerki. Then the design of the jerky logo is something we're going to talk about more, or it's going to be American Butchers Sub Jerky. I'm still trying to think about the name and everything. I've done a couple different things that I will talk about in this podcast in the upcoming weeks. I'm on probably week 3 of this whole idea. This podcast really came to me in the last probably 2 days. I just decided I wanted to have the founder notes, which is this podcast. This is more of a way for me to follow my journey, look at how I'm making decisions, more have a mental note to myself, and hopefully open this up to someone else. Our main objectives are to be able to sell directly to the consumer. The jerky itself will be made here in Dallas, Texas. It'll then get transported to me in Fort Rucker, Alabama, where I will then do the actual retail side of house and selling directly to consumer. So I will ship it from my place in Fort Rucker, Alabama. That is kind of the whole general picture of our operation. I really have only finalized the actual jerky itself. So the number one thing in any product is to make sure that your product is obviously worth it. I think that I've crafted our product to be pretty dang awesome. And I think that is your most important thing. I can worry about names, I can worry about labels, I can worry about packaging, all of that after the fact that I've crafted our jerky. So I'm going to think that next episode is going to be talking about the jerky itself, talking about some of the flavors we're offering, some of the things that we're going to try and do to get into the market. But for right now, that is just a scratch of the surface of what is American Butchers Jerky or the American Jerky Company. I'm going to talk about websites. I'm going to talk about trying to figure out all that stuff eventually down the road. But this is just the idea and just the concept to what is the whole production. Really, all they say is an idea is only so much. Well, this is the initial idea, and we can only go up from here. So on the note, I just want to leave you guys there. Thank you very much for listening to the Founders Notes, our podcast number 1. I am your host, Calvin, officially signing out. Thank you very much.